Alright, guys, so I hope everyone's doing well, and let's talk about BRICS today because we have big news to share. Just last year, we saw a historic addition to the bloc with big names like Iran and the UAE joining BRICS. BRICS is a good proxy to measure the influence of the global south. As more countries join, the more resources they control. They also pull together enormous consumer markets that can influence the demand for almost everything. It's no surprise that many countries, including Venezuela, plans to join BRICS this year. But it's even more important we talk about Thailand's membership bid that was just announced. Thailand's cabinet has approved the country's application to join BRICS, and if accepted, this will make Thailand the first Southeast Asian country to be a BRICS member. It goes without saying that this is a huge development. Thailand is part of ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. They are the second biggest economy in the group, just below Indonesia with a GDP of over $500 billion. Combined, ASEAN accounts for nearly $4 trillion of economic output, which is a very big deal. Over the past 2 years, ASEAN has been pushing hard for bilateral trade and ditching the dollar for local currencies. It's also important to note that Indonesia has a strong partnership with the biggest power in BRICS, which is China. Thailand's joining is a signal to the world that non aligned countries are beginning to take a stand. Asia as a whole is drifting away from the West and closer towards the global South, or we can call them the global majority. It's important to understand why Thailand, like many other countries, is eager to join BRICS. First and foremost, it's all about breaking away from the US dollar system. Since the Federal Reserve started hiking rates, Thailand's currency, the Thai baht, has been losing value. It has dropped by over 10% against the dollar, which is a big problem for the country. Thailand is a net importer of oil and gas, of energy, and because all these resources are priced in the reserve currency, imports now cost a lot more for Thailand. Growing their own economy becomes more expensive thanks to a stronger dollar. And if you're Thailand, there isn't much point in hoarding dollars. Your biggest trading partner isn't the West, it's Asia and the rest of the world. You want to transact locally and depend more on local currency trade. By joining BRICS, Thailand wants to grow their economy faster by removing the biggest limiter of growth, and that is buying imports using dollars. In Thailand's official statement, they echoed this sentiment about joining BRICS. This would benefit Thailand in many dimensions, including enhancing the country's role in the international arena and increasing its opportunities to co create a new world order. And this is in line with Thailand's vision. Many countries today see the rule based order as a system controlled by just a few. It's a framework constructed by the G7 nations, more specifically the US, to benefit themselves more. Developing countries moving to join BRICS is a clear rejection of the current world order, one where the West can grow their economies at a cheaper rate, while developing countries like Thailand struggle to fund their growth, and that clearly shouldn't be the case. The playing field isn't even. Thailand's biggest import partner isn't the US or the G7, it's the rest of the world. China accounts for almost 17% of their total imports. If that's the case, what is the point of paying dollars for stuff from Beijing? It doesn't make sense. Thailand's energy imports also comes from countries like the UAE, a current BRICS member. So it makes total sense to shift towards bilateral trade and use local currencies. For example, Thailand can always use the Chinese yuan to buy energy imports from the UAE, and it would be accepted because China is a huge trading partner with this Arab state. The UAE can then take the yuan to import finished goods like EVs and solar panels from Beijing. It's just one big circular trade, a contained ecosystem without even touching a single US dollar. And that's the advantage of setting up a competing economic bloc against the G7. This is why many countries are flocking towards joining BRICS. It's not a coincidence. Another big reason is to move closer towards China. In the first 9 months of 2023 alone, China invested nearly $3 billion in Thailand. They financed over 260 projects, making up 24% of Thailand's foreign direct investment, almost a quarter. The majority of these investments were electronics, automotive, and of course, EV sectors. In other words, China is helping transform Thailand into an Asian manufacturing hub. In contrast, the US and the G7 have totally forgotten about Thailand, while China sees them as an economic partner. Doesn't really take a genius to see where the winds will blow. 3 years back, China and Thailand extended their bilateral currency swap agreement, and because of this, Thailand can continue to access a pool of Chinese currencies for global trade, up to 70 billion yuan. Thailand can swap the Thai baht for the Chinese currency to buy valuable imports from China. And as Beijing continues to ink more trade agreements around the world, this swap line becomes more and more valuable. And this is amazing for Thailand. You can effectively trade the Thai baht for a stronger yuan to buy finished goods. You don't need to buy dollars in the open market and crush your local currency in the process. For many emerging economies, the biggest limiter to growth is commodities and energy. The more you can get, the faster you can build your country and grow your economy. But the biggest constraint for a long time is the amount of dollars you hold. And for many countries, there are only two ways to go about it. Either you sell more to the US directly to get dollars, or you borrow in dollars, and both methods make you beholden to the Western financial system. The new BRICS Plus bloc accounts for 42% of global oil production. They also account for 35% of global consumption, which means BRICS is self sufficient in their energy needs. There is zero need for them to price oil in dollars, and we'll continue to see more barrels get priced in local currencies. China is already buying oil from the Middle East in the yuan. For Thailand, joining BRICS will be a windfall. They can access abundant energy plus access to a huge pile of Chinese yuan for bilateral trade. And this sets them up for success. You get the best of both worlds. Now, when Putin visited China, he made a bombshell announcement. He told the world that 90% of bilateral trade is done outside of the dollar. The majority of trade settlements were carried out in rubles and yuan. And this changes everything. Instead of only using the reserve currency, you can now buy oil and gas using rubles and yuan as well. Russia will obviously accept their own national currency, the ruble, for trade. They are also cooperating with China to internationalize the yuan, so they will take the currency as well. Joining BRICS helps to unlock this big advantage. If Russia goes to Thailand and says, hey, we'll sell you oil at a 20 or 10% discount and we'll take the baht, rubles, or yuan, that will be the deal of the century. You can grow your economy at a discount while sanction proofing yourself. And this, of course, will have profound effects on the dollar and the US economy as well. Russia has a lot of oil and they are moving to de-dollarize the world. In a recent report, we see yet another example of the world moving away from the Western financial system. Indian refiners like Reliance are now buying Russian oil using rubles. India is buying 3 million barrels of oil a month, and the settlement currency isn't dollars, it's in rubles. This doesn't just add legitimacy to the Russian currency, it makes the entire BRICS bloc as a whole stronger. Thailand applying for membership is just the start. Other countries like Indonesia, Laos, and Vietnam will shift closer towards the bloc. Their biggest constraint to growth, access to dollars, is now effectively gone. They can always use rubles or the Chinese yuan. And if times are tough, they can always use swap lines to get more yuan or just print their own currency. This is a very big game changer. By joining BRICS, Thailand can get vendor financing from China and cheap commodities from Russia. They can industrialize faster. Your working capital needs suddenly drop. Instead of having one supplier that takes dollars, you now have a dozen other countries willing to take other currencies. That also means you can rely less and less on trade with the US. Your reliance on the US economy suddenly drops as well. This is becoming a growing concern for Asia because the reach of US sanctions is becoming global. A month ago, the US accused Asian countries like Malaysia of dealing with Iranian oil. This is a nation part of ASEAN. This triggered the US Treasury to send their sanctions official down. We can see the desperation rising in the US and they are lashing out across the world. There's always the chance of Southeast Asia getting sanctioned by the US. It's not impossible. What the US is doing is forcing countries to choose sides, and that is not what Southeast Asia wants. They simply want to be left in peace and to do business with the entire world. And this is evident from Malaysia's Prime Minister's stance of welcoming everyone. There's no need to exclude any country from global trade.
I make it very clear we are very strong in our relationship with China. I do not subscribe to this xenophobia. We have been traditional allies, and most of our investments still from the United States. It's still coming. I mean, Germany, of course, new investor, the Middle East, Qatar. But from the United States, Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, all there. And coming in an aggressive manner in Malaysia, and we welcome them. You know, Malaysia becomes now the hub for semiconductor in the region. There must be reasons, and part of it is because of the support of the United States. We do differ in some of their policies, what they consider the contradictions, hypocrisy, but overall, they are still friends.
In a very ironic way, the more the US goes around the world demanding compliance, the more countries will slip away from their grip. We'll see more Asian countries and even European ones like Serbia applying to join BRICS. In the next 5 or 10 years, the world will look completely different. If fewer countries trade with the US or use the dollar, there's less incentive to invest there as well. Investment will be done within the BRICS bloc itself. They will buy locally and invest locally as well. The G7 will get isolated even further. Thailand, for example, is looking to attract 15 billion in global investments. The focus will be on EVs and electronics. And who do you think they're actually pitching to? It's not the US, which has gone full protectionist. It's not the EU who are behind the 8 ball. They are pitching to China, which is dominating the world in renewable technologies. Joining BRICS will help assure Chinese investors that their money is safe. BYD, GAC, and Geely, they are all setting up shop in Thailand because it's safe to do business there. Thailand joining the bloc makes it even better. At the very least, your factories won't suddenly get shut down. For Thailand, this is great for their local economy as well. A growing BRICS is a threat to the West. It's a zero-sum game. Whatever investments the West loses, it will head over to Asia, and growth there will explode. According to Vanguard, this will decimate returns in US markets, and as investors, we must pay attention here. Over the next 30 years, the emerging markets will grow faster than the US according to Vanguard's projections. Stocks in emerging markets like Asia will return 8.5% annually for the next 30 years. The US, however, will only return 6% a year, which is a tremendous difference. And if you're betting on the West to win, this is a dangerous gamble you might actually lose. The world is losing faith in the dollar and in the US economy. Major countries, they are shifting towards BRICS, and going forward, we can expect the bloc to also develop their own currency in time and build their central bank further. Their priority is to break away from the Western financial system. The last 2 years have backfired badly on the West and is only going to get worse. De-dollarization is not going to stop. But as always, let me know what you think. Will Thailand officially join the BRICS? And will the rest of Asia move closer towards China as well? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe as we navigate through these insane times.